here's the thing. Michael Jordan had really 3 stages to his career. He won 3 championships. Then he left and did the baseball deal. Then he won 3 more, and he was a different player. He was more polished, more professional, did a better job of sort of playing well with others and getting other teammates included. And then he left and had a career with the Wizards, sort of, right? A lot of WFG leaders that you get a chance to hear from are sort of like that Michael Jordan in the second phase of his career, where he just seemed like, quite frankly, so much better than everybody else. Because he was always gifted and talented, but he outworked everybody. He worked on his mindset, and he just elevated his game by going from a great individual player to a great team player to a great leader. And a lot of people, when they would see that Jordan in his second phase, it's like he's untouchable. Like they couldn't even relate. What I think is unique about Sergio this morning is it's like catching like a Michael Jordan of WFG, like in his first year. He's about to win his first championship. He's one of the youngest, hottest guys, not only in the Synergy hierarchy out of over 100 SMDs. He's one of the hottest SMDs literally in the company. And I'm not saying that just because like we're bros and like I think he's terrific. Like go on the Leaders Bulletin, look up his name, where he shows up consistently. One of the hottest young leaders in the whole company. And so you've got an opportunity not to look at some guy that's so polished and so distant that it's like, oh, I can see why he's winning, but I can never win. But to see a guy who's in pursuit of his first championship, already qualified for SMD, already has his ring, on the way to 250 a year at a young age and early in the business. So it's raw, it's real. I've asked him to talk really about 2 things specifically. Like this is heavy note-taking time. Here's what time it's not. This is not Netflix time, where you just sort of sit back for an hour like and pretend like and you're watching something that's somewhat entertaining, but you don't take any notes and you like think that you're going to retain it all. That's just not the way the brain works. They say that which flows through you tends to stick to you. More notes the better. Head down. We have a chance at the end. There might be a few questions that you can ask, but I'm not sure that we do. It's going to be like drinking from a fire hydrant. It's going to be hard charging after. Michelle and I have developed a relationship with he and his wife. His wife is not here today. This is an associate of his out of the base shop, but we've gotten a chance to break bread together. They are as talented and hardworking and driven as they are in the business. They're just a wonderful couple outside of the business, just as a couple and as human beings. And I was telling him earlier this morning, like, these are the kind of guys like that I love being in this business, when you're able to build a relationship with sort of kindred spirits, like-minded individuals who are not only like not only help you to get better, and quite frankly, his base shop's doing better than mine right now. He's here to help me get better, if nobody else. But the kind of couple that's like, Michelle and I are like, yeah, these are the kinds of people that'll be our friends for decades to come. Well, probably a decade and a half at my age. He'll visit me in the home after that. But heavy note-taking time. Like, get in a good energy level, get ready to go. Please help me give a raucous Chino welcome to the one, the only Sergio Martin.
But I'll be honest, yeah, it wasn't easy. We made a commitment right when we found out that we were really close to SMD MVP that we were just going to go all in, no speaking engagements, and basically this was going to be our #1 focus. But Christopher and I had talked about it already about me coming out. So when I told Jay, I was like, hey Jay, I was like, what do I respond? I was like, because I've been on appointments all day. I was like, and Christopher asked me twice. And he's like, tell him just because it's Philippe and him. He's like, because I respect the guy so much. He's like, that. He's like, yeah. He's like, but everybody else, it's a heck no. Something like that. You guys can figure out what Jay was actually saying. No, but I will tell you guys, I look up to Christopher so much, and in ways he doesn't actually know. When I first started with the company, he came, did a BPM for us. Our office maybe had like 18 to like 25 people showing up. It wasn't a ton. And he came out there, and I'll tell you, I was at a point where I kind of believed in the business, but I didn't 100% believe in the business. Like, I was kind of teeter-tottering with whether I really wanted to do this, not do this, just wasn't 100% sure. And he came out and he told the story, and he told the story of why he started here, and you know, what it was leaving corporate America, where he was at, and you know, if you don't actually know his story, I'm sure you guys know it better than I do, but at least from what I know, like, I remember him telling his story of how he started and what it was like going through the business, and you know, deciding to just come full time. And I was like, man, if this guy would leave his corporate career, you know, that he's making 6 figures in, and what he was making back then is like the equivalent to like $400,000 a year now. I was like, if he left that to come here, he saw something big enough to be able to do all that. I was like, you don't just do that by accident, you know. And for me, that was everything. I was like, if he was willing to do that, I was like, then I'm willing to really give this thing a shot. And that was actually like a big like you ever see like a tree that's about to tip over, and it's like kind of just sitting there, and then finally out of nowhere like tips over onto one side. That was like me actually making a decision to go full time. And I don't think I've ever told him that. I've kind of mentioned it before, but it was things like that. You know, we always say like there's always something if you're looking in the right places. And that day I was like, man, I was sitting there and I was so tired. It was a Saturday morning. I used to work about 60 to 80 hours a week was my average. It was closer to like 70. And I was in the automotive industry. So going to a Saturday morning BPM was like the worst thing in the world, because of the fact that, you know, Saturday morning I wanted to actually catch up on a little bit of sleep, like hang out. But I was at BPM because Jay wouldn't stop bugging me and stop telling me that I had to be at BPM. So I was like, all right, here I am. And then, you know, like I said, then he came up and talked, and I was like, oh dude, like this might actually be it. Like this might actually be it. Who's ever felt like that? Where you're just like not 100% sure? And that was me for a long time. That was me. I think I got to MD and was already full time, and I still was like, I don't know if this is something I want to do for me. But you know, I'm that kind of person that I go all in on something, and I just keep doing it without really thinking. And that was basically how we got started with the company. But I'll tell you guys a little bit about my story if you don't know our story. I actually started with the company in 2016, so that was like February, March of 2016. I actually knew Jay and his wife for about a year and a half before I actually started with the company. So at the very beginning, I met them as a client. So I had an automotive detailing company, and so basically we had like 6 trucks that went around doing detailing like all over like San Gabriel Valley. And that's basically, I had a shop, and we were doing okay. I mean, we were making like 7-8 grand a month. And I just had gotten to a point where I was very frustrated with the amount of time I had. Because I had like no time. I mean, I worked 60, 70 hours a week, sometimes 6 days a week. So it just, you know, I was at a point where I was like, man, I don't want to do this forever. So when I sat down with Jay, Jay's like, hey, let me help you set up your retirement. He's like, because I assume you don't have anything, being that you're like an independent contractor. I was like, I really don't. I was like, oh, I'm not even going to lie to you. I was like, I know how to make money. I know how to spend it. And he's like, how much do you have in savings? And I think I had like $1,000 in savings. And to be honest, I don't think it was money I saved. I think it was money my wife saved, right? So I was just like, yeah, I have $1,000 saved up. But that was like the shared account. That was like actually her money. And I didn't tell him that. So I haven't told him that. But he told me, he's like, Sergio, he's like, you know, you're making 7-8 grand a month. He's like, and I've got clients who make like 2 grand a month who have more in savings than you. He's like, they're putting $1 grand a month into savings. He's like, bro, like, you can't do this forever. And it was like kind of one of those moments where I realized, I was like, damn, I suck at this money thing. And I was just telling Christopher this, like, I grew up knowing how to suck at the money thing. Now, my parents made like $10,000 to $12,000 a month. My grandparents made like $20,000, $25,000 a month. And I always grew up with money, but without it. Because like we were broke, just at maybe a little bit different kind of a level. But we were always broke. Like I remember literally like my mom going and putting like, you know, $30 in gas, because that was like what she had on her. I remember like my grandparents like struggling to pay like the electric bill. Dude, I'm so confused. Like how? Like it doesn't make sense. Like I remember there was months that my grandparents borrowed from my parents to buy material for their business so that they could continue doing business. I'm like, how do you guys not have money saved up from the last time you did this? Like, how, I was like, isn't that how it works? Like, aren't you supposed to buy material, sell a product, make money, take your profit, reinvest into material, and do it all over again? But they didn't do that. So, I mean, I grew up my whole life, like, Jay always says this, like, there comes a point in time where you grow up and you realize who your parents really are, right? And that was a realization for me by the time I was like 10, 11, 12 years old, where I was like, man, they freaking suck at this money. Like, I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, it never made sense to me. And that kind of always intrigued me, but obviously not enough for me to fix it with myself, right? But it always caught my attention because I was like, man, they really just freaking suck at this thing. And so I never considered myself like growing up rich because like we weren't freaking rich, we were freaking broke like all the time. Like I can't figure out how the heck they ever like got anywhere. So when I sat down with Jay, it was like, you know, like everything like became clear. I was just like, this is why I suck with that freaking money because like they suck with money. I was like, so I need to get this money thing figured out. And I sat down with him. I started saving money. Maribeth started saving money. And that was like the first time in my life I ever started saving money. I want to know, like, my very first IEO was like $200. Like, literally, I was saving nothing. I was making like $7,000 on like a bad month, and I was saving $200. Jay's just like, this is embarrassing, bro. He's like, I'm just honest with you. I was like, Jay, I was like, I gotta start somewhere, man. I was like, this is like step one for me, okay? I was like, we're saving money, okay? But it was like the biggest deal in my head to like save money, like, cause it just was not a concept I understood. But over the course of that next like year that I knew him, you know, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because I always had money saved up, and I was like, man, this taught me a ton. So I remember my little sister, she's my assistant now. I started teaching her how to save money back then, right? So I would literally be like, hey, how much money did mom give you like this week for your allowance? She's like $50. I was like, well, you need to go save like 25 of it. She's like, why? And I'm just like, trust me, just save $25 every single week out of your allowance. She's like, then I only have $25. And I was just like, dude, I was like, just freaking listen to me. I was like, don't be stubborn, okay? She was like, okay. So she literally started saving money back then. And, you know, little did I know that all those little habits that I started learning from Jay would evolve into what they become now. Which I'm so grateful for this company that's what we happen to do. If you think about it, we could be doing so many other things. Realize we could be selling like Tupperware or like doing something else, but instead we're actually like helping people with their future. Like the reason I tell you guys that is because, see, my little sister, she's 18 years old now. She just turned 18 in January. She has about $19,000 in her savings account. She puts about $300,000 in, that's like the number in my head right now. She puts $300 a month into her IUL. She just bought her own car, herself. Like, I mean, like the kid's freaking financially independent, you know? Like, has not asked my parents for money in like 2 years. And when all her friends can't afford to buy like a concert ticket, guess who buys it and charges them interest? She's freaking genius. But, you know, all those things, I would have never taught her that stuff myself. Those were all things that I learned from Jay. And that's why I think it's so important that like the stuff we learn here, we actually apply it into our own lives. Because that changes everything for your entire life if you actually take the stuff you learn here and you apply it. And you know, like Jay talks to me now about saving more than ever before. Like it's a freaking obsession. Like we save and save and save because like we know that's like our number one thing we have to do for our own personal life. But it's all those things, you know, that I learned over time. That's what, when I came into business, when I sat down with Jay, I'll tell you, like follow up is everything. Ronnie bugged me about business every week for a whole 6 months. So every week when she saw me, she'd just be like, hey Sergio, we need to sit down. When are we sitting down? And I'd be like, I'm really busy. And it's like, next week goes by, she's like, hey Sergio. And I'm just like, I know, but I'm really busy. And it's like, it was literally like the same conversation. I was just like, dude, she ain't gonna let up. And I would talk to Jay, and Jay wouldn't even mention it. And I was just like, how come he never brings it up? And then Ronnie, next week, she'd just be like, hey, how's everything going? And I was like, all right, I'll come in and sit down. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I was just like, well, isn't that what you were going to ask me? She's like, about what? I was like, dude, I was like, man, these people are like, and finally I was like, all right, I'll come in, I'll sit down. And then I missed the meeting I was supposed to have with them. So then I missed the meeting I was supposed to have with them. And I see them the next week. And then Ronnie goes, hey, she's like, Jay's free right now. She's like, I know you missed your meeting the other day. I didn't think I was like you. She's like, so you have time right now? And I was like, dude, like, she just pulled at my heartstrings, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to be that dude that doesn't show up to stuff, even though I didn't show up to stuff. I was like, all right. I was like, yeah, let's sit down. So I come in and you know, I'm like very frustrated. I don't know if anyone knows what it's like to like go wash your car outside and it's like hot and the sun's beating down on you and you're like exhausted. You know? Imagine doing that for 12 hours a day, because that was what my business was. Even though I didn't have to do all the detailing, I had to come in and do a lot of jobs because a lot of our high-end clients, they didn't want anybody else. You know, they didn't want the 18-year-old kid working with me to be the one touching their Lamborghini like they wanted me there. And I'm like, oh, I'm trying to build a business here where I don't have to do it, sir. And they're like, well, if you want me as a client, you're going to do it. I was like, you got me there. I was like, so I'll do it. So, I mean, I remember sitting down with Jay, I was like sweating. I was like, my skin was like radiating from like being in the sun so much. And I sit down with him and Jay's like, he's like, can I just ask you a question? He's like, is this really what you want to do, bro, for the next like 20 years? And I was like, no, I was like, this is not my game plan, like at all. He's just like, okay, he's like, well then, he's like, can I just ask you a question? He said, what if you started working with me? What if you gave yourself a shot? He's like, what if it accidentally worked? And that moment I sat there and I was, to be honest, I was confused because I was like, what if it accidentally works? I was like, that doesn't even make sense. I was like, this guy, like, that doesn't even make sense at all. But I sat there for a second and I was like, what if it accidentally works? I was like, yeah. I was like, what if it does work? Like, what if this is what I was supposed to be doing all along? And I was like, well, worst case scenario, I do it, and then I decide not to do it. I was like, so be it. I was like, doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal. So I was like, all right, fine. I was like, let me think about it, which really didn't mean let me think about it. To be honest, it was just the fact that I didn't save money, right? So I had to go home and actually go grab money from Mary Beth because she's the one that saved everything for us. I was just like, at that point, the only reason we saved money is because I had her take over all the accounts. And I was like, look, we both know I suck at this thing, right? I was like, so you save the money, and then I'll just ask you for money when I need it. So I literally went home and I was like, hey, I need $100. She was like, for what? I was like, for Jay. I was like, you remember that guy Jay that we sat down with? She's like, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna start like working with him or doing something like that. She's like, why do you have to pay $100? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I just need the $100. I was like, just give me can I get your card? So literally the next day I come back to the office and I get there and he swipes my card, he grabs my card, he does my background. Then after that, he signs me up for the licensing class too, and I was like, and I'm just sitting here watching him, right? But I didn't know what was going on. But I was so like not focused that, see, Jay didn't start working with me at the beginning because he already knew like he wasn't gonna waste any time. See, a lot of times we waste a lot of time with people that aren't gonna give it 100%, and then we're mad at them because you know it didn't work out. But at the end of the day, like they weren't gonna give you 100% anyways. So it's like, why waste all this time with them? So what Jay do? He just did what you're supposed to do in the business, right? You match that person out. So he matched me out to somebody. My orientation went a little bit like this. They handed me a sheet of paper that said "Help Me Script" on top, and a paper that had 10 lines on it, and it said top 10. And she's like, "Okay, do you know what you need to do?" I was like, "No." She was like, "Okay." She's like, "You're gonna fill this up with 10 names." She's like, "And you're gonna call them. And you're gonna set up appointments." I was like, cool. I was like for what days? She's like, just for whenever they're free. I was like, all right. I was like, and then what do I do after this? She's like, just do that, and then just let me know when you book the appointments. I was like, all right, cool. So it took me like 2 weeks to set up my first training appointment because I would literally drive around checking on my guys that were on the route. And I had my Help Me script in the top 10 sitting on my dash on a clipboard, but I was so afraid of calling because I was like, who the heck am I supposed to call? Like, she didn't tell me who to put on the list. That's the worst thing you could do with anybody is allow them to like put whoever they want on the list because they're gonna put like nobody on the list, right? And I literally drove around with them for like 2 weeks, and finally one day I sat there and I was bored because we had these two guys that were brand new working together. So you can imagine how long that took. It was like a 30-minute job turned into like an hour. So we're like 30 minutes in and I realized I was like, they're not going to finish anytime soon. So I literally grabbed the Help Me script and I was like, all right, and I started reading it. And I didn't even put a name on the list. I just started calling, and I called my friend Katie, and she picks up, and I book an appointment with her. And I was like, holy crap, this freaking help me thing freaking works. So I call the next person. Nope. Next person, no. 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 Next person. So by the end of it, I'd made like 15 calls and only one person booked. And I was like, tell me script thing doesn't work. I was like, I don't know what happened. The first one was like just beginner's luck. I was like, but this thing does not freaking work. So I remember going back to the office because I was down the street from the office, and I went to Jay and I was like, hey, I booked an appointment. I was like, this is with the person, and he was like, for what? And I was like, for my training. And he's like, oh yeah, go talk to Christina. That's her name, right? And so I go talk to Christina, and she's just like, oh yeah, she's like, today's my last day. I'm leaving to Vegas. So I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to freaking do then? I was like, so like now I'm like confused, a little lost. And there's a lady in there that's been with Jay for like 7 years now, and she's like, I'll help you out. She's like, I'll run the appointments with you. Jay told me to help you. I was like, okay, cool, thank goodness, right? Like finally, someone. And she's like, how have you been booking your appointments? And I told her, and she was just like, man. She's like, okay. She's like, can I tell you the truth? I was like, yeah. She's like, Christina sucks, dude. She's like, that's why she's leaving. She's going back home. She's like, she like sucks at like everything. It's not just this. She's like, but I got you. I'll take care of it. I'm like, all right. Don't worry. She quit. I can say whatever I want about her. It's called the quitter's effort. You're allowed to say whatever you want. The team rolls up to you. All that good stuff, right? But she told me, she's like, she sucks. She's like, so I'll just start helping you. I was like, all right, cool. So she starts helping me, and then before I know it, we started booking appointments, and we get in the field, and we get our promotion. And this is how like not focused I was though. When I say that I was not focused for the first like 6 months, is that I got all the way to my senior associate promotion. I didn't know. Because like I didn't have like a tracker. I never got an actual fast track, so I didn't know what the qualifications were for it. But like I got all the way to that, and like I just had no idea, right? And then finally, I was with Jay. We're driving to Palm Springs. I was driving him out to appointments, and we're driving, and Jay's like, "What's your contract?" And I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, where do you get paid at, bro? He's like, dude, freaking. He's like training associate. So I was like, I don't know. I was like at one of them for sure. And he's like, okay. He's like, he's like, you already got your license, you already appointed? I was like, yeah, I haven't like exactly like started the licensing class yet. He's like, dude, I registered for you for the freaking licensing class. He's like, when's the last time you logged in? He's like, because it expires in like 60 days. I was like, I'll be honest, I don't even know the website. I was like, I got the whole piece of paper you gave me. I was like, I lost it. Like, so I'm telling you, I was like the worst like freaking training you could ever have, because I paid no attention. I'm like 2 months in now, right? Like already got my senior associate promotion. Don't have a license yet. Haven't even studied the class. So we get back from Palm Springs that night, and Jay literally, he's like, hey, give me your card real quick. He's like, I need to check that it was the right card for the licensing class. I was like, okay. And he grabs my card, and he's like, all right, cool. He's like, your state exam is next week on Tuesday at 8 a.m. in El Monte. He's like, so you better study, bro. And I was like, what state exam? He's like, the one you need for your license. And I was like, but I gotta study. He's like, I know. He's like, you're lucky, bro. I'm giving you like a 3-day heads up. So I had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday to go study. Which, because that's how I've always been, I waited till like Sunday and like Monday to study. And Tuesday morning, so I woke up at like 5 a.m. and studied for 2 hours before that. So I studied like a total of like 7 hours. Got my license exam finally. And then Jay finally grabs my tractor. He found it from like from the lady that was training me, and he's like, bro, he's like, you're supposed to be at a 55% contract. He's like, but I guess that wouldn't matter because you're a moron and you never got your license. So finally,
you passed the test.
I passed the test. Yeah, I got like a 73.
Wow.
73. All 7 hours of study. But I was literally like, that was my whole start, and it was all because, you know, Jay, like, he just kept pushing me and kept pushing me and kept pushing me. But what I want to tell you guys from that is, like, sometimes we want our coaches and our leadership's attention, but the question comes down to, like, what have you done to earn it? Because you got to realize that, like, they're already where they're at. And it's not because they waste a lot of time with people that aren't going to value theirs. You know, and that was something that Jay taught me from the very beginning, that, you know, you got to fight for your leadership's time, and that's a big part to it all. So, as I kind of go into this, not that we haven't already, right? But I want to ask you guys for one thing. So I want to ask for your permission to talk to you guys just like I would talk to our own team. Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I will not talk to you guys how Jay and I communicate. That doesn't go over well with 99% of people. But our relationship's a little different, right? But no, like I said, I mean, I'm very humbled to be here and to actually be working with you guys and talking to you guys. And like I said, I look up to Christopher a ton. Like, you guys have no idea. You know, he's one of the only people in our entire hierarchy that's been an MVP in the company. You know, that's not like a small deal. Like, that's a big freaking deal. It's a bigger deal than you could even imagine. Just because most people don't even look at MVP of the company because it's such a big deal. Like, if I'm completely honest, we weren't tracking SMD MVP till 2 months ago because someone slipped up and told us, and they were competing against us. And then when they realized we had them, they took their EMD promotion. And I won't say any names like Leland and Wazma, but I will say that they got scared, so they took their next promotion. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes it's a smart move, you know. It's a good strategy. But you know, they should never have told us. Like, you don't poke a sleeping bear. Like, we had no idea. Like, goes back to what I just said. Like, MVP is such a big deal. We didn't even think about it because we didn't even think that we could earn it. That's why when you have a coach who's already earned that, dude, like, you couldn't be in a better freaking spot than someone that can tell you how they've gotten to, you know, where they're at already. Like, you realize, like, for him to be here in the base shop, that's because he wants to do this, not because he has to, like, whatsoever. Like, if he just wants to chill, like, he could freaking do that all day long. I trade lives with him any day. Because Liz and I were talking about it on the way here. I was like, talk about someone who's built a lifestyle, like, by design. There you have it. Or like, he could tomorrow just say, pull the plug on the office, we're good. Like, it's cool. He could do that, right? But he's here for a reason, because he really wants to build a base shop. And you guys are all here for a reason, right? So the goal comes down to one thing, is that you guys got to really work as a team. So I was looking at this earlier as I was walking around, and I'm assuming, because this is how we do it, I'm assuming that if you're in the red, you're not registered. Well, that's how it is in our office. It's like on the whiteboard at the very front. Everyone knows. Like we make sure you know. We remind you before you leave, so you know. We call you at night before you go to bed, just so you know. Just in case you didn't know, you know. What is it to
Register for Spring Sizzler and Convention.
Got it. Okay, so we have both. That means you registered for both. That means most people. So, like, if you register, that means you actually almost registered for everything, but then you're not registered at all. Alright, well, I'll go into that in a second. But, I'm going to go over a couple things. So, I'm going to go over the things that I think make the biggest difference in this business. Because I don't think there's a million moving parts to the business. There's just a few things that you've got to, like, really, like, get down. The first part is, this will be one of the parts, but it won't be the first part. The first part is the schedule. Like, you gotta have, if you want to be a champion, you gotta have a champion schedule. If you've ever looked up someone like Tiger Woods, you ever looked at his training routine? Like, most people get tired reading his routine. They would never do his actual routine. You know why? Because there's a reason why he is where he is. See, because most people would not do what he's willing to do to get there. See, in this business, whether you're part-time or full-time, it's very easy to get caught up in being lazy because you don't have to do a ton to make a decent amount of money. So it's very easy to get lazy. So, like, I'll give you an example. When I started, I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Right when I started, Jay caught me at a really bad time because recruited me in February. By March, April is when the Long Beach Grand Prix is, if you know what that is. My company used to do all the detailing for the exotic car show. So I'm talking about like setup, prep, everything. The whole week before that, I mean, we were working about close to 80 hours a week. So they had us out there setting up, doing all this stuff. we were sponsored by a company called Mothers. So we had banquets and all this stuff that I had to go to. I didn't have a choice. It was in my contract that I'd go to. And come to the Long Beach Grand Prix during that time, I mean, we were just living out there. We were sleeping maybe 5-6 hours, and it was literally just like non-stop work after that. And I come back and like, you're freaking trained. But guess what? I still have a mobile route to go to that my whole crew's out there doing, and we still have a location that does all the high-end stuff. So I mean, we came right back to it. And I'm trying to run my training appointments in between this. So when I was part-time, I was still running like 5-6 appointments once I figured it out. Obviously not in the first 2 weeks, because obviously we know what happened there, right? But once I figured out how to get appointments, I was running 5 to 6 appointments part-time. And that was with like no time. Most people work 40 hours a week, they can't figure out how to get 4 appointments all the time. I'm like, I worked like double that and had more appointments than most people. Like, how's that even possible? Excuse me. But it's because I just figured out I just wanted to get this like this training process over with, right? So if you're part-time, who's part-time? Okay, cool. So, see, there's a difference between being part-time and there's a difference between being part-time with a full-time mentality. See, that makes all the difference there. See, most people are part-time with a spare time mentality. So their activity is very spare time too. And see, and that all that does is prolong, like, everything that sucks at the beginning, you just prolong that even further than it ever should be. So you gotta be part-time with a full-time mentality. Which means that you're in constant communication with your coach. You're running, in our office, if you're part-time, you're running at least 6 to 10 appointments a week. At least 6 to 10. I mean, it's like 6 to 10 hours. You know, you stack that on with commute time and training. You're between a 40-hour work week. I mean, that's only like 60 hours, or not even 60. That's like 50 hours. That's not a big deal. Like, it was never a big deal in my head because I worked so much before. So, like, when I started, I really paid my dues full-time, or part-time. So when I made the decision to come full-time, my third month, I was like, man, if I could do all of that part-time, what could I do if I'm full-time? And I'll tell you, I'm naturally lazy. So, like, with no schedule, believe me, I'll find a way to do nothing. But that's why I give myself a schedule. Because I could either be my best or my worst employee. See, because I'm self-employed. See, I'm not in a position where you have $200,000-300,000 coming in passive income. So I don't consider myself a business owner. I'm self-employed still, right? I have some CFTs, but I'm still not at a point where I'm self-employed. So I'm my own employee. So I have to be my best employee. So I have to give myself a schedule. Certified field trainer. Yeah. So like the last 2 days, I was like Wednesday, I was like freaking sick, like really bad. Like I left in the middle of the day, I was like sweaty. Dean was just asking about this. I'm supposed to have gotten like these headshots done, but like there was no way I was gonna get them done, like sweating to death. So I like didn't do that on Wednesday. I had to match out like the rest of my appointments because I had like a fever during the day. Came back to BPM that night, was like dying back there too. And then Thursday I wake up, I have no voice. And I had between Thursday and Friday, I had 22 appointments. So I had like 3 people in my base that just went and ran all the appointments for me, which was awesome because I didn't, I was like literally Wednesday could not talk. Woke up and people were calling me and I was like, dude, like, you can't even understand me right now. Just text me. And I just matched out all my stuff. But your schedule is everything. So like if you're full time, you have to have a killer schedule. Like your schedule's got to lead to you getting to where you want to go. See, like if you want to hit your watch, if you want to hit your ring, like your schedule has to lead to that. Having 10-15 appointments isn't going to get you there. It's just not. Unless like you have to be in an incredible market, and even then that's not guaranteed. Like you have to have a killer schedule. Like our weekly schedule, Jay and I run about, I don't know, like 32 to like 40 appointments a week, and mostly it's piled into like the end of the week. But yeah, and that's only because like we match out stuff too that we're not gonna like spend energy on. Otherwise, we'd easily like in the times where we're running everything. I mean, we're running like 45, 50 appointments a week because we're just like going through them. And we don't waste time on appointments. I mean, we're not spending like an hour, hour and a half. Like we're just going through the appointment and just being very effective. The reason I tell you guys that is because your time is so valuable here, but so many of us waste it just because of the fact that we get paid so well for what we do. That's so easy to waste time. But your schedule is everything. So you gotta give yourself a schedule. Like, if building your business is one of your biggest focuses, then that's gotta be where most of your time is spent. Like Maribeth and I, we divide and conquer. Like Maribeth goes on prospects because she's building the base, while I'm going and actually running the appointments and doing everything after that, and then she runs all of our fast charts and does everything that's based around relationship. And you gotta master what works for you. You gotta make it all fit into your schedule. So like in your schedule every day should be prospecting. That should be part of it. And you dictate how much prospecting you need to do, depending on how you guys do it. And you guys do it however you guys are taught to do it. So don't do it the way I tell you to do it. Like however you prospect, whether it's ads, whether it's cold market, whatever it is, like that part's up to you. But depending on where you're at in the business, you got to dedicate a certain amount of time. So if you're like, man, it's just me by myself, I got to get to 2. Like, well then, dude, you got to dedicate enough time to get yourself to 2. Like, you can't dedicate yourself to trying to book appointments if you're not doing the part that you need to do the most in the business. So prospecting, that's one of them. Phone calls is another one. I'll tell you, I don't blast a million phone calls because I just like, I don't mind doing it, but I just don't sit around making a million phone calls. Because I teach my team to make calls with me. So I'll make 3-4 calls and then I have them knock out the rest of the calls. That way, like they're learning how to make the calls. I don't want to have to make all the calls all the time. Same thing with Maribeth, she like leverages that stuff out. Unless it's like a really qualified person and she's gonna do it, then she's gonna do it. But outside of that, we just we strategize not using up all of our energy on that stuff. And then you block out the evenings for appointments. And then you block out, after your appointments, you block out time for your team. So even if you have one person on your team, you gotta learn how to make sure that you're on top of helping them get to where they need to go. So you gotta spend time with them. You gotta know how to coach them. You gotta know how to pour into them. That's one of the biggest pieces to the business. And then I'll go through this part with you guys because see, I look at this and we have a few people that are still in red, but y'all got a lot that are still in red, like a lot. And I'll tell you guys why. And like I said, that's why I asked for permission to talk to people, like if they're on my team, because on our team it's like it's a freaking standard. Like here's what it is. Like who wants to build a team? Like who actually wants to have an organization, an actual like company here? Okay, cool. Well, if you're in red, I'm not gonna have you stand up like we would in our office, but yeah, who's still in red? Just out of curiosity.
Mine's
Okay.
red, but it should be black.
There you go. See? Oh, I erased it for you. No, I'm kidding. Don't forget to put it up there. I'll let you do it. But I'll tell you what it is. Like I always tell people, like you can't lead a team if you can't lead you. If you can't get you to an event, you can't get a team to an event. And if you ever want to grow from event to event, you can't even freaking get to the event. You can't grow from event to event. And that's why for us it's such a standard. Because here's a question: if you plan on being here for the next 6 months, then why would you not be registered for the event that's in the next 6 months? See, like that's almost saying like I don't plan on. Like in my head, I'm very all in when it comes to stuff. I either am gonna do it or I'm not going to do it at all. Why? Because like I don't like spreading my energy thin. I like just being focused on one thing. So it's like events. Like it's not even a question in my head. If like the event goes and opens up for us to be able to register, like we're registered. Like so if you look at like tenacity at how it is, like how our hierarchy is, like we always have the most registrations. It's not by accident. It's because it's not optional. Like I tell people on my team, I'm like, dude, if you ain't gonna register, it means you don't plan on being here. If you don't plan on being here, then I don't want you wasting time here. I don't want to waste time here. So let's figure this out. Are you going to be here or not? Now, sometimes it's a financial thing. So I tell them, I'm like, well then freaking let's figure this thing out. Let's save money. How can we do this? How can we do that? Like, I'll pay for your freaking ticket and then you're going to pay me back in the next 2 weeks. Like we'll figure it out with the team. Like whatever we have to do. But at the end of the day, like it comes down to one thing. Like if you plan on being here in the next 6 months, you got to register for the event. The events aren't there by accident, and they're not there because people like Dean and Christopher like to spend time putting together events. They're just like, oh, I freaking love this. Like, isn't it so fun? Like, no, it's freaking frustrating, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of work that you're not getting paid for. So guess what? If they're putting these events together, not getting paid for it, and they're not fun, like for them to put together like all the moving pieces to it all, and they have to deal and coordinate with a million different things and organize this and organize that, do you think maybe there's a bigger reason for the event? There's obviously a bigger reason for the event, right? That's why it's there. That's why they put all that time, they put all that energy, and they put all that focus and all the money that goes into the event, so that we can go somewhere that's going to help you grow and get to a different level. Or you might hear a story that inspires you and keeps you in the business when you were like on the brink of not really caring if you kept showing up to meetings or not, like I was at when I first started. See, and those events, those are what change everything, but you've got to lead from the front, like where it's got to be like, it's got to almost piss you off if your leadership isn't on the top. Like if we open up registration for something, we focus on one thing at a time. That's why you won't see like a bunch of registrations for like, what is it, like the kickoff at a convention and stuff, because we just haven't focused on it yet. But man, the moment we focus on it, it's like immediate. Like I think we even already have, registrations on there, but we have never even talked about it like more than one time.
It's gonna sell out.
It's gonna sell out.
Limited space.
No. Well, there you go. So we'll get it taken care of in the next 3 days. We'll make sure to sell it out. See? Dean's a closer, by the way. He's like, I'll take care of this. Like, I'll get them to focus on it right now.
So you guys in the room, you got 3 days to get it done before they will book it out.
Oh yeah. I'll call J Ray when we leave here. Sell this at the event. But like meeting attendance, like the way you go, like you guys should get to the point where like you completely fill this room, where there's no room, where like you need chairs like all the way back there, like you almost have to move the desk, like you guys gotta fill this place up. And the way you do that though is that if you're here by yourself, you just need to get to one and you've already doubled up. You realize how easy that is? Like it's just freaking one. One gets you to 2. And then 2 gets you to 3, because then now you got someone that you're gonna go work with. But it all starts with 1, because it starts with you. Because if you don't get you to the meeting, because how many people have someone on their team that's not here? Okay. You guys know why they're not here. See, on our team, it's like, it's not a freaking optional to not be here. Like, I mean, I'll just tell you straight up, like, I don't see any purpose to showing up to, like, a training here or there, like, if you're supposed to be here. See, I get a commitment from them when they start. Because I've learned to value my time more than ever before, so I just go like, if we're going to do this, and we're going to do this thing together, and I'm going to be the one spending my time, and you're going to spend your time too. I want to respect yours, and I want you to respect mine. So I need you in the meetings. Because the meetings, it goes back to the same thing, like Jay doesn't like waking up early, neither do I. So when we do training, we don't just do it for fun, we do it because every week we go based off of something that the team needs. So if you're not here, you're missing a crucial thing that you need to help you get to the next level. See, and that's a conversation that you need to have with the people who are already on your team. Because there's a reason, like, there's no reason why they shouldn't be here, because, like, you didn't randomly pick Saturday to be a training day. It's been a training day since before they started. You know what I mean? That's a conversation you have with people. You gotta make sure that, like, they understand how powerful the meeting is for them. Sometimes it's more powerful for them than it is for you, but you gotta make sure they're here in the room, because you hear the message, and that's great, but you're never gonna relay the message as well as they can. As well as they can perceive it when they're actually in the building. So, like, I'll tell you, when we started, it was not the easiest thing in the world, though, to go from 2 to like 5 was our biggest struggle. We hit our MD in October of 2016, and that felt like, I mean, we got our last licensed agent in October just in time for a promotion. We went over the points. We did like 50,000 out of the 40,000, so the points were fine, but we couldn't get our last licensed agent. So I think we had all the points by like the second week of October, but we didn't have the licensed agents, and finally we got the last one. But the reason was because, see, we weren't sure what we were running for. Like, we weren't very clear on what we were doing. We were almost taking it as if it was just a job, rather than realizing like we were building something. Like we were building an empire, like we needed to start acting like we were building one. So we had like no licensed agent, literally just got our last one that month, which I was like, oh my goodness, like it came at the perfect time. We hit our MD, And then I remember sitting there with Jay, and this was back when like you could still sign your MB promotion, right? And after we signed it, Jay goes, dude, you like barely did it. He's like, you realize this is like getting like a D minus, and like they just passed you just cause. He's like, cause you barely got enough license agents. He's like, that's crazy, bro. He's like, you're lucky I'm signing this. And I was like, oh shit. Like it was like a wake up call for me, because I was like, man, what am I doing? So we hit our first time we hit SMD qualifications was in January of 2017. So about 2-3 months later, and we had 22 licensed agents when we hit our qualifications. So we went from 5 to 22, all because it finally became a goal. From October, so in October we had 5, and then between November, December, and January, we got to 22.
3 months.
3 months.
From 5 to 22.
Yeah. And all it was because it was the first time we got clarity on what we were trying to do. Because we were like, man, we're trying to build a freaking business. That we can't build it by ourselves. Like, otherwise we'll stay employees forever of ourselves. So what do we gotta do? We gotta go look for people. We gotta go hunt. And it was the first time in our whole career that we caught on to the fact that like recruiting is so that you could A, build a business, B, you helped someone else build a business and you gave them the same opportunity someone gave you. It was the first time in my career I stopped being selfish, because I realized I was like, man, I'm not recruiting to do something to them. Like, I'm about to change their freaking life. Like, someone's changed my life, and I like finally caught onto it and realized I was like, man, this is why we do this thing. Like, we recruit because like we're trying to build an empire here and we're helping someone else do it. Like, that doesn't happen anywhere else. You realize that? Like, you could go literally work somewhere else and no one's gonna go help you get to where you want to go. They're gonna help you become the best employee in the position that you're in, and that's as far as you're gonna go. They're never gonna help you get to where they're at, because then that means you take their job. So that doesn't make any sense. Yet we're in a company where you take people with you as you grow within the company. And that, to us, that was what's so powerful about it. In that very moment that we finally caught on, and like I said, I mean, we added like another 17 licensed agents in a 3-month span. But our whole belief changed on it. You know, everything changed on it. And one of the biggest things to building a business at that point for us that shifted was the fact that we added 3 things to what we were doing. CPC, which is constant personal communication. We were in touch with our team like never before. One of the biggest things we started doing with that, which was the next one, is belief. We were literally pouring in belief, where we were building their mindset, because we never realized that most people didn't have the same mindset we had, because it took us 7 months, 8 months to get it. So obviously it was going to take them a lot longer to get it too if we didn't actually help them work on it. So we started communicating with our team every single day. We started building their mentality, building their belief in the business, building their belief in themselves. You know, most people, their number one struggle is their belief in them. That was my biggest struggle when I started. I grew up in a very competitive background, sports and everything, but I had lost that competitive edge when I started with the company. When I started here, I'd already been out of sports for a good 4 or 5 years. I just wasn't competitive anymore. And I didn't have a big belief in myself. That's why I didn't compete. And when Jay used to be like, hey, who's gonna, be the #1 producer this month? Like, I wasn't the one raising my hand. He's like, who's gonna be the #1 recruiter? I was like, I'm gonna hide on this one, because I ain't trying to like raise my hand for that one. Because it was my belief. But I'll tell you, 6, 7, 8 months of Jay pouring belief into me, that changed my entire career. And that's why believing in people is the #1 thing you do to build a team. See, everyone wants to be a part of something where someone else is pouring belief into them. But no one wants to just be a part of just like something. Like, they want to be a part of something that's going to help them grow and get to the next level. And someone's going to believe in them, and someone's going to inspire them, and someone's going to coach them and talk to them every day and become their best friend. And that leads to my 3rd one, which is become their absolute best friend. See, like, everyone on our team, like, we're really good friends with them. Like, they come to all of our birthday things, and we hang out with them, and we spend time with them as much as we can, and we invite them to everything that we can. And yesterday we had a birthday dinner for Jay, so we invite everybody on the team, and like, we literally turn it into a big family, because that's what it is for us. Because we realize, like, if we're gonna go build an empire, I'm gonna go build it with people we like, right? I'm gonna go build it with people that we see as family. I'm gonna go build it with people who are friends to us. I'm gonna go build it with people who who want to chase something just as bad as we do. But so that's why friendships are so important, because friends don't quit on friends, but business partners quit on business partners all the time. And that's why you got to learn to build friendships and make it strong friendships too.
Hey, it's compensation. A lot of people
And
have time.
I'll tell you one of the biggest pieces of the business for us, because I think most people don't have this, is that competitive edge. Because we feel like, what if we do raise our hand? And what if we do speak up? And what if we don't hit that goal? And what if we don't? But see, the question comes down to this: is like, because if your goal is big enough, like, what if you fall short a lot further than you ever have? See, and that's something that we've always learned with Jay, is that, see, all of our goals are set to a point where, like, they scare us enough to get to work, but not so much that we'll never think we can hit them, but something that literally makes us, like, freaking run for it. So I remember, the first time I was like, okay, I can't even remember I didn't even know how to get like 2,000 points on the board. Right? So I remember the first time Jay challenged me to get 15,000, I was like, 15,000? I was like, dude, I've never even got more than like 2,000 points on the board. And I literally couldn't figure it out. Actually, at that point, because my license had just posted, I learned how to get 2,000 and then negative 1,300. I was like, shoot, dude. I was like, I'm only freaking 2 months into this thing. I'm already negative 1,300. And I think I was only negative 1,300 because I wrote like a term or something, and it knocked off like 700 of it. But I think it was like the first client I wrote up charged back. I think that's what it was. So I was like devastated, right? Because I went a whole month and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And Jay would laugh. He's just like, dude. He's like, it's freaking nothing. He's like, wait till you have like big problems. He's like actual problems. He's like, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is horrible, bro. I'm like, I can't pay your bills with 1,300, Luckily, I was still part time at that point, but that next month he was like, dude, I'm gonna challenge you to get to 15, and I was like, all right, this is where we need to talk. I was like, we have a serious talk. I was like, dude, I've done 2,000 and then negative 1,300. I was like, technically, I've done like 700 points here. I was like, how am I gonna get to 15? And he's like, bro, did you just start believing in yourself a little bit? And he's like, and just get a little freaking competitive. And I remember he went to the backboard, and he he wrote my name, and I was like, why is he writing my name? I was like, oh, it's because I can finally go on the backboard. Because we used to fight to get on the backboard. He writes my name, he writes 15,000 points, and he goes, hey, Sergio said he's going to outproduce all of you guys. That was not how he said it, but that's kind of how he said it. And I was sitting in the back, because I used to like to sit in the back, right? Because I could hide behind people. There was a really tall guy that I used to sit behind, and he would never see me, right? And Jay literally went to the front right at the beginning of training, and he's just like, so Sergio said he's gonna outright all of you guys. He's like, so this will be the month that everything changes. He said that I'll forget who you guys even are after he's done with you guys this month. And I said, and everyone's staring at me because I never talked to anybody. And I was like, and I think it was only like the second Saturday BPM I'd ever been to, because like at first I didn't know that it was every Saturday. Goes back to my fast start, right? Christopher talked about this the other day at Area Wide about how important the fast start is. I found out like my second month in that there were Saturday BPMs every Saturday. I thought it was only when they told me about it. So I sat there and I'm like, and everyone was looking at me because like I haven't really talked to anybody because I was so part time, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, you kind of just put me in a really bad spot here. I was like, so far I think everyone likes me, but I don't know them enough to have a friendship with them. I was like, and now I think they all hate me. So I was like, I guess if they hate me, it might as well just be because like I actually did something. So that month I went out and we did like 7,700 points, which was like, I couldn't even believe it, right? Which we did end up like outproducing everybody. That's how bad our base shop was doing. We're like 7,700 actually to like the top. And I did that, and then it just started building from there. And that's why like your mindset in the business is like you gotta learn who here is actually like naturally competitive. Okay, so not everybody. So the question comes down to this is like, can you learn to be competitive for what you really want? Like, can you learn how to turn it off like if it were a light switch and turn it right back on? That was what I had to learn how to do because Like I said, it was turned off. Like I had to figure out how to turn it back on. But what it was for me was the fact that I was just like, dude, if I'm gonna do this thing, I don't want to just be in the office. If I'm going to, you know, work here, I don't want to just be another person that works here. I don't want to be another like associate on the team. So it was finally like one of those things where it kind of just pissed me off enough, where I was just like, I need to just do something. Like I need to like become like one of the next top people. And then Jay had a training that week that was like an extra training on Saturday, right after BPM, and he said just stick around if you know you're one of the serious people. And I stuck around because I happened to be there. And he goes, I'm looking for my right hand man. Or gal. He's like, whatever it is, he's like, but I'm looking for my right hand. He's like, I'm looking for the next person that I can match everything out to. I'm looking for the person that wants to win as bad as I do. I'm looking for the first person that's going to hit their watch out of our base. The first person that's going to hit their ring. And he started listing off all these things, and I was just like, I like looked around the room, and I was like, man, I'm going to freaking do this. And I remember going home, and I told my rep, I was like, hey, this is what Jay said he's looking for, and he's going to like freaking match them out and all this stuff. Like, I'm going to be that person. She's like, what's a match out? I was like, I don't know. I got to go ask. I was like, but it sounded good. And she's like, okay, so what does it take to become that person? Because Mara's very like, Mara just analyzes stuff, and she's like, all right, let's figure it out. Like, what does it take to do that? I was like, I'll be honest, I don't know. She's like, okay. She's like, do you run appointments on your own? I was like, no. She's like, how do you run appointments on your own? I was like, I don't know. I have to go out. So that was the first time 2 months in that Mara comes to the office. And then she found out that day that there was a trainer's like training, and she was like, you should go through it. She's like, Jay, could you go through the trainer's training? And I was like, good page. I was like, stop. I was like, you're freaking brand new. Just got here today. I was like, don't start asking random stuff to Jay. And Jay's like, yeah, be here on Sunday. It's on Sunday. And I was like, dude, look what you're freaking doing. I was like, no, I gotta go to this trainer's thing. She's like, well, isn't that what you said you wanted to do? She's like, you can't like not be a trainer, I guess, and be a right hand man. Like, doesn't work that way. She's like, unless you're gonna be like his assistant. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be another grown man's assistant. Like, that's about the only other thing you can do because you're not a trainer. And I was like, all right. So I didn't even know what it was, and it was on Saturday. So the next day I had to train for like our like train the trainer thing, and that was literally how I got certified to be a certified field trainer. I never ran an appointment by myself because Jay. Once I started working with Jay, even when I had someone else training me, they ran the appointment. I just set it up, and when I started running with Jay, he set him up or he ran the appointment. I set him up. You know, I just knew one thing, that if I put him in front of Jay, they were gonna close. So I just set him up as best I could, edified like crazy, and then ran to the appointment. We got to close like every single time. And so that was the whole beginning to my entire career, was just doing that. Was just like I was literally all I did was run appointments with him. And finally, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna become a trainer. Like Weir's actually a trainer, like a certified trainer, whatever you guys call it. Okay, so we got some of you guys. So you guys definitely and Chris, you guys definitely need some more of that, huh? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
You know, that's the first way that you guys really grow the team, when everything doesn't rely on your leadership. When all the pressure isn't on them, when you're able to help them out. That's the number one way you grow your team. Because then now you can go do for them and help them free up some of their time so they can go do other stuff. And you start helping each other build together. And so here was kind of like the system that I mastered with Jay when I finally got certified. And at the beginning, I'll tell you, I took all the worst of appointments. They were like 17 years old. They were like, you know, still in middle school. I ran every single appointment. It didn't matter. Like, I didn't even think about it. Then I got to the point where I was so good where I was closing them at like 18, 19 years old, working at McDonald's, saving $150, $200 a month. And Jay was like, you closed that? I was like, yeah. He's like, bro, you weren't supposed to close that. I was like, what do you mean I was like, you sent me something I wasn't supposed to close? He's like, bro, everything I've sent you wasn't supposed to close. So he's like, hold it for like 2 weeks, bro. He's like, don't send them the application. He's like, get their medical done. He's like, make sure they want. Like, those kids are still my clients now. Now they're like, you know, 21. Like, which is cool, because now I see them, and, you know, now they've like finished school and they've got careers, and I still keep in touch with them, which is freaking awesome. But there were appointments that I was literally like just handed to like learn from. The reason I tell you guys that is because See, I never questioned was it a qualified appointment or not. I treated every appointment like it was a qualified appointment. But that's why you got to get certified, because you got to get out there and you just get all the kinks out by doing the work. So you don't become a better trainer by sitting there and watching someone do it. You become a better trainer by you just doing it. So like one of my challenges to you guys is that every single time you have the opportunity to, when you're on an appointment, to actually go and run the appointment so your trainer doesn't have to. Like you should do that. You should ask for that opportunity to do that so that you can grow, so you can run the appointment yourself, so that you can literally grow your skills and build your belief in it all. Because all that does is build your confidence, and when you build your confidence, guess what? You start building a very, very big competitive edge, where now you start feeling better than you ever have. Now you start working harder than you ever have. Now you start playing at a bigger level than you ever have. And that's when this business gets really fun. This business gets really, really fun when you get that competitive edge again. Because, so you don't have to go compete against like the people on the list here. You gotta go compete against you first. You gotta go win you over and make sure that you're playing at your hardest for yourself. And then you go play against the person that you want to compete against, and you find someone that's doing better than you, so that it's a challenge to you, so that you're always fighting for something. And that's how you help get to where you want to go. And I'll tell you guys this now because Christopher's out of the room. Like, I want to see this team grow. You know, this is the only speaking engagement I've taken in the last like 4 months, because we've like literally said no. Jay said no to Rob Day the other day, if you know who Rob Day is. I mean, and like a bunch of them. Like I said no to my friend Randolph and Chris Steve Io, who are in Eric Olson's hierarchy. Nikki Cannon's office asked me like twice. Like, I mean, we've said no to everybody else. But I'm only here because Jay gave me the okay, and because I have so much respect for Christopher and for Dean and for like everybody here. Like, I want to see this team win. I want to see this team do well. But it all starts with the people. There's only so much that Christopher can do. You know, like you guys as a team, you guys gotta like work together and find a way to help them get to the next level. But you do that by helping yourself get to the next level. Like that's the number one way you do it. You guys, what this team needs, like what this team really, really needs, this team needs a flag carrier. This team needs someone who literally just says, you know what, screw it, like I'm not going to be part of the pack, like I'm going to separate myself from the entire time, like I'm going to go make a statement. And, you know, that was the best thing Jay ever did for my career, because I was so afraid to speak up, because I was like, shoot, if I speak up now I got to follow through. Like now I actually have to say something out loud and go do it. And that was like the scariest thing in the world for me, was the freaking commitment part of it, right? I could say it, I had no problem with it, but I was like, no, because then I'd have to follow through. And finally, when it got to that point where Jay's like, that's what I'm looking for, I was like, dude, that's what I'm gonna be comfortable. That's what I'm gonna do. And then at that point, I'll tell you guys, like, I talked a lot of trash in the base shop. Like I made everyone really uncomfortable in our office. I don't do it as much anymore. I had to stop at like MD and then slow it down a lot at SMD. But wanna know why? It wasn't to actually like insult anybody. It was because it's what got the team pissed off enough to actually do something. Like, I realized that on our team, I was like, man, the more trash I talk, the more the team works. The more the team works, we all win at the end of the day. Everyone makes more money. You know, last month, I think that the team got paid out like over $150,000 just in the hierarchy. Like, I mean, we had 30, what was it, like 37 people paid like on the last of the month. I mean, like that stuff is where it really, really gets fun. But that stuff never happens until you get a bunch of people working on so, like as a team, you guys gotta figure out what it is that your goals are for yourself, and figure out how you contribute to the team. Because that's how you get them to the next level. And you guys, like I said, you guys need a flag. Like, do you guys have anybody that's like a flag on the team?
But yeah, we can definitely.
We got 2 people that raised their hands. I would have raised both my hands, stood up,
Yes.
and then stare everybody else down and they
So in
wouldn't
that
try to
case,
say anything.
like I said,
Like that's literally how competitive I got about it. And the reason I tell you guys this is because that's what helped our team. You know, there was a time where this was the size of our office. Like maybe like a year and a half ago. So not that long ago. A year and a half ago, this was the size of our office. And then literally the more people we pissed off, the now we've got our attendance today. I saw a text from my assistant. Our attendance today as a team was 122. So, but a year and a half ago we had 40. It was a record day. You know, that's not counting guests too. That's just just agents. But the reason I tell you guys that is because that's what this team needs. You guys need someone that freaking drives the whole team, that fights with the whole team, that gets everyone competing at their best level. Because, see, competition drives excellence. And that will only happen if you guys have someone on the team who literally makes a decision to get aggressive and to get competitive and to, you know, not be afraid to say something and have to follow through. So, the number one thing to that just comes down to this, and I'll end with this, is the fact that you've got to learn to trust yourself and believe in yourself enough that you're willing to follow through on what you're willing to say. You know, it's one thing to say something, it's another thing to do something. And if you can learn how to actually do that and follow through on you know, on what you actually say, that's everything in this business. And if you could go do that for the team and go teach the team to do the same thing, that's how you drive this team to the next level. That's how you get this team to the size that you could get to in the next 60 days. I don't see any reason why you don't go to convention with at least like 75 to 100 people, where this office is too small. Like that should be your issue that you guys have next. Should just be like, hey, we don't have enough room, we have to split off for like another night or something. You know, or Saturdays it's like literally cram packed, like you couldn't turn the AC on early enough, like that bad. That's how it should be. You come to our office, why do you think we're all sick? Because it's so hot in there. Because even with the AC on since like 5 a.m., it's freaking like, there's like germs just like festering all over the place. Because there's so many people that it's like so hot. Like literally, like you have to like, if you don't, right Liz?
Yes.
Like, what's the average temperature you think in the actual BPM room on like a Wednesday night?
Wow. Maybe 80, 78, 80.
Like that, and that's with us with the AC at like 65. But there's so many freaking people. That should be the problem you have next. Where your electric bill's like $1,000 a month like it is for us. That should be your problem you have next. That's the stuff that I want to leave you guys with, because I think that's the one thing that this team is missing. That's the one thing this team needs. Is just someone that's going to be a flag carrier. Someone that's going to step up and that's going to, like, even if you don't believe you're that person right now, see, the sooner you start saying that you're going to become that person, the sooner you become that person. That's step one to becoming anything you want. Is that you gotta declare it first in your head, and then you gotta declare it to everybody else, and the rest you'll figure out. But you'll never figure it out if it only ever stays in your head. You know, and if you don't even make that decision in your very own head. So, I know you wanted me to open it up for Q&A. Okay. So, yeah. Any questions you guys have, I'm more than willing to go through them.
You mentioned you leverage phone calls. In the beginning, what did that look like for you, prospect?
Well, here, let's shift to when I stopped sucking. Because at the beginning, I'll tell you guys what not to do too, real quick, is see, at the beginning, when I first learned to prospect, because I realized I was like, my list is really low. One of the very first things I learned to do was, I stopped putting just my friends and family on there. I started putting acquaintances. My whole, like, promotion and everything actually came from acquaintances. I only have like 3 family members and like 2 friends that are clients. Everybody else's people I just happen to know. Like literally happen to have their phone number, but I've never like hung out with them, never had lunch or dinner with them. So that's what I did at the very beginning of my whole career. Like I got all the way to my senior associate promotion. I didn't even know we had recruited the people. Like too, I just knew they became clients, and then like they'd be like, hey, you got a business partner. I'm like, that's awesome, cool. Like I thought that's what a client was too. Because like I had no idea what we were doing, and I just didn't ask questions. So when it came to list, what I did was I would get the numbers, and I started realizing I shouldn't be calling them myself, because none of them were booking, none of them were ever picking up, and if they did pick up, they asked me a million questions, right? So what I do, I just started telling them that my assistant was going to call them. And my assistant was whoever the heck was in the office, they would call them. And then now they would call them, and then I would call theirs. And then that's how we learned. And then that's how I've taught my whole team now. So now our whole team, on average as a team, like even just for my team, we probably get about 30 prospects a day. So, but between everyone on my team, I have them pass their numbers to someone that's going to call them. So like Liz gets numbers, Mary Beth will call for her. Cause she like works directly with us, so Mary Beth will call her numbers. You know, we have like a couple other people, they get numbers, alright, their upline's good enough, he makes all the calls for them. So, like we organize it where I have them come into the office and I teach them how to make the calls. So, or Mary Beth will teach them how to make the calls too, so we'll sit with them for a solid like 20 minutes and we'll just knock out calls. Show them what it's like. We'll have them make some calls in front of us so that they, you know, kind of get their feet wet with it. We're also smart about it in the sense that, like, if it's like, hey, I prospected a doctor, I'm not gonna have to call the doctor. I'm just gonna have them start with like the dude that's like 19, right? Because then that way they feel more comfortable in their head first when they're reading the notes. And then once they get past those, then we have them call the doctor and they realize the doctor's easier to book than the other one. And then they're like, yeah, I'll take all those ones. I'm like, perfect, here you go. Then you get someone's confidence where they'll call everybody. They don't care if they're 19 or 35, like, or they're 50, it doesn't matter if they have a career or whether they're in school, like it doesn't matter, they gain the confidence to call anybody. So that's what we do. I mean, we're just smart with matching out what we're gonna have people do just so that they gain confidence. Everything is confidence in this business, you know? If you walk into an appointment with no confidence, you're gonna have a bad appointment, right? You walk into an HI with no confidence, you're gonna have a bad HI. You go prospect somebody, you're gonna have a horrible time prospecting with no confidence, right? So everything we do, we tell people to, you know, you do it to build your confidence and you build up from there. Answer your question.
What scripts do you use? The same scripts that we use?
Yep.
You do.
All the same ones that are in the BFS and everything.
And do you tell, like, when you have someone come in and they sign up, do you tell them, like, hey, we're gonna be calling you every day? Or do you just?
Yeah, I definitely, when they start up with us, like if someone comes in, they interview, and they're gonna get started with us, yeah, I very much clarify what it's gonna be like. Goes back to what I said before, like I value my time more than I ever had before, otherwise I would have never worked 60, 70 hours a week, but I did. I tell them like, hey, we're gonna become best friends. This is how this is gonna work. I've gotten to where I'm at because someone's coached me, guided me, got me here. Obviously, I always find out if they're in a relationship. So I let them, you know, I make sure they let their spouse know that I'm gonna be calling them every day. Believe it or not, ladies get jealous if you're calling, you know, their husband all the time, and then vice versa. It happens, believe me. And I've had a lot of like wives, you know, mad at me when I didn't know how to like figure that part out and sit down with them like right away. You know, I'd wait till like 2 months later, and then I'm like, dude, why she hate me? It's like, well, I'm with you all the time. I'm always at BPM late. So yeah, I let them know. I'm very clear about like, hey, I'll be in touch with you. We're gonna chat. We'll stay in touch. This is the beginning of something great. We're gonna build a you know, a good relationship here. I'm going to help you get to where you want to go financially, and it's gonna start with teaching you all the basics and the fundamentals of finance, because it's all the stuff I've been taught, and I'm so grateful I've learned this stuff. And in turn, we're gonna go bless a bunch of people. We're gonna go teach them that same stuff. But I want you to know that if I'm communicating with you, it's because I'm willing to work with you personally. So just know I don't have time to do that with everybody. So I just make it so that they know that if I'm doing that, like it's because I'm willing to invest my time with them. Yes.
At what moment did you know that this is the business for you and the company for you?
Like I said, I was basically like to MD when I finally like actually made the decision. Like I said, when Christopher came to the office, though, I made a decision at that point to stick it out because it was the first time. It goes back to the same thing. Our office is very different dynamic. When I started, everybody was under like 26, right? So we didn't have anybody who I could look at, go have a conversation, and they've had a successful career somewhere else because they haven't even had a career yet. You know what I mean? So it was very difficult to kind of have that like belief. But I'll bet you here, you go ask around, there's people who've already had a career, whether it's here or outside of here. So it gives some credibility to it all, right? Well, in our office, our average age range is literally like 21 to like 27. Like no one's had a freaking career there, right? And Jay and I grew up like around like the same people. We never met each other, but I was like, okay, cool, we'll figure this out. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. So when people like Christopher came in and they tell their story where they came from, you know, the career they had before, I was like, shoot, like this thing might actually be legit. Like this dude left all that to come here, and then I started learning other stories of other people, little by little. I think I was only like 2-3 months in when you came in, but I was still very like I hadn't even got my license by my second month. Like that tells you that much of how much I like really like believed in it. So yeah, probably about 6 months to like finally believe in it, just because of the fact that I don't know what it was. I think it was just timing. But Jay never stopped believing in me. That's why I never stopped showing up. So he would always tell me, just like, dude, you're gonna be freaking awesome here, bro. He's like, we're gonna get you to MD in 6 months. No one in the office has done it in 6 months. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, fine. Like, we'll do it. And finally, when I got to MD, and I was like, holy crap! Like, we actually hit our goal, qualified for our first company trip. Like, we did everything we were supposed to. I was like, man, this thing is actually real. And I think when we went on our first trip, that was the first time we finally like realized that it was like it was freaking real. And yeah, and that was basically kind of like what started it for us. Yes.
When you went on that run, when you got the 5 license agents to 22 in a 3-month period, what exactly on your own personal activity and schedule did you do that changed that?
Yeah. What got us there was so. Yeah, that was a great question. I was choking, that's why I didn't say it. I meant to say great question. Yeah, what actually got us there was the fact that Jay had asked, he's like, okay, because we got to MD, right? And like I said, Jay teaches you how to talk a lot of trash. So he literally was like, he's like, dang, he's like, now Sergio got to MD in 6 months. He's like, in another 6 months, he's going to demolish all of you guys, which has happened, by the way. He called it into existence, right? But he literally said that, and I was just like, Jay, I was like sitting in the, in the BPM room, and I was like, I remember sitting there, I didn't want to look around, I sat in the front at that point, right, I stopped sitting in the back, and he's like, dude, sir, just in the next 6 months, he's literally just going to demolish you guys. He's like, you have no idea. He said that he's just going to do all the production you guys do in the last 12 months, he'll get done in the next 6. And I was like, oh my god, bro, like, why, dude, like, these people already freaking hate me, like, more and more. I was like, and then now you just said that. So, like, he always puts you in that spot. So, finally, I was like, all right, Mirath and I went home, and we didn't know what SMD qualifications were, right? We were barely figuring out that you needed 5 licensed agents for MD. So, we go home, we print out the qualifications off the website, and we were like, okay, let's go get this done, because we were like, if we get this done, we'll for sure be ahead of everybody else. So we went and printed out just a small board that was a thermometer, and it had the amount of licensed agents we needed and the points that we needed. And we had that at home and in our office, and so we saw it every single day. And so we said, okay, well, what's an exchange like? So we literally went and talked to Jay, we're like, what's an exchange like? And he goes, well, he's like, there's a weak exchange leg, there's an okay exchange leg, and then there's like a good exchange leg. I was like, how do we do a good exchange leg? He's like, it shouldn't have less than 10 licensed agents at least. Mind you, Jay had never promoted out in SMD, so he didn't know either. So we were all figuring it out together, right? Like, that's what we always joke around about. We're like, we were just figuring it out because we didn't even know. And so we had that, and so every time someone got licensed, we, added another notch to it. And points, we tracked all of our points starting from November. And so we had that literally on there, and every day we would obsess over it. And we were just telling people, like, we were like, hey guys, we gotta get to freaking like 30 licensed agents, we gotta get to 30 licensed agents. So we started recruiting more than ever before. We had some people that were independent of us, so then they were running HIs and stuff like that. And so it made it really easy for us to get someone in the business and get them licensed in the next 2 weeks. I would lie to people and tell them that I got licensed in 2 weeks. So that's how people got licensed in 2 weeks, which is totally a lie. But my wife got got licensed in 2 weeks, so then I was able to use her story, right? I was like, hey, she got licensed in 2 weeks, she got licensed in like 6 days. I was just like, you shouldn't take long at all. I was like, it's just super quick. It's super quick. I was like, everyone does it this quick. They're like, okay. They're like, so you knocked it out? I was like, I just knocked it out. I was like, honestly, I knocked it out in days. I was like, which was true because I never studied before that. So we just had that posted though, and we would put a notch in for every licensed agent and track all the points. So by the end of January, I walk into the training room. Yeah, so this was like the beginning of where we're at now. I walk into the training room with my little poster, and I go and I stamp it at the very front. And then Jay gets in there for general training, and he's been staring at it the whole time. So he's like staring at it, and he's texting me. He's just like, "Hey bro, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's my SMD tracker. We're officially qualified for SMD." I was like, "I just figured you'd let everybody know." Well, what does he do? He literally goes, "Hey, I just got a text message from Sergio saying, hey, let everybody know that I blah 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 blah, and I already got to SMD and none of them are qualified. Here's my poster." He's like, "That's why that's here." And he's like, "Here, let's go through it." He's like, and then he literally starts reading through it, and he goes, "Man, guys," he's like, "I'd be really pissed off." He's like some of you guys, I could tell you are. He's like, "But it's okay." He's like, "Cause you aren't pissed off enough to go pass them up now." He's like, "So you guys will figure it out." And then he just put it back up there. He's like, "Sergio, you mind if I leave this here so they could all see what it looks like?" And that was literally like, that was the beginning for us where we got really, really freaking competitive. But that's how we got to it. Because our whole thing was like, we're just, at this point, like, we gotta track everything. Because otherwise, like, we're not gonna keep hitting milestones by accident. Before that, like, we hit MD basically by accident. We just got lucky that our last license agent hit. Otherwise, we would have probably, like, missed it. Like, we would have had no idea. Because we just weren't tracking stuff.
So you work mainly within your own personal team, you didn't go out and bring anybody else in to help you elevate?
I mean, Jay was working a lot with our team. So, I mean, like, our system was this. I get a recruit, I match him out to him, he got a recruit, he matched him out to me. So we were just working together, because I was still in the base shop. So, we were literally just matching out to one another. And then that way he would help me build somebody up, I would help build somebody up. It worked out because you gotta remember, right, if I'm training someone for my SMD, I'm gonna do a really freaking good job because I don't wanna look like a moron here. So I did a really good job. And then it's Jay, like, which I know he's gonna do a good job, it's not a question. So we literally just built people up together. So at that point when we hit that, Jay helped me build up, he probably got me like 8 out of those license agents, 8 out of like the 17. All in one leg, literally one family leg, he just taproted it all the way down. Or, yeah, all the way up, so. And that was just one match out I gave him. He didn't have time for anything else. I think the lady here had a
Oh, yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
I just wanted to know what's your ratio of men to women, and I wanted to ask Christopher the same question.
A lot of women.
What's the ratio?
What would you say?
I mean, it's probably 30% more women than men.
Yeah. Yeah, so for every guy there's probably like, I don't know, probably like 5 ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do more calling or prospecting? What is it? Do you do more of the other than one than the other?
I personally just do like everyday cold market prospecting because I just do it as I go.
Yeah.
Normally our schedule's too busy to do anything else. So at some point I have to go, grab food somewhere. At some point I have to go do something. Like I'll find ways to get out of the office to go do something. Like I hate going to the gas station and putting gas, but sometimes I'll just tell my assistant not to do that so that I could go do it. Like right now I don't have gas, and she told me yesterday when she was in the car, she's like, "Hey, do you want me to go put gas in the car tomorrow?" I was like, "Nope, I got this." I go get a number tomorrow, so I'll go to the gas station. So that's literally why I'll do it.
Pump your own gas like a peasant?
I know. It's unfortunate. I hate, what I hate is just the time that it takes. And I swear, like, the more I look at it, I'm standing there, I'm like, dude, what the heck? It's been like 15 minutes. Like, yeah, and it's been like 2. But I feel like my world's like falling apart. But I'll do it if I'm gonna go prospect because I feel like it takes so long. I could go get 2-3 numbers while it pumps. Just because I feel like in my head it takes so freaking long. So I'm just like, I'm gonna go grab like 3 numbers right now to go make this thing worth it. Otherwise, that's why she does it. That's the one thing that if I don't have to put gas, like I'm the happiest person in the world. But except for like today, because I was like, I gotta go get a number anyways. So I'll just go get gas. So little stuff like that. That's how I go get numbers. Just like finding things to go do. Sometimes I'll go get groceries just so that like it gives me something to do. Even though Mira said I always come back with all the stuff she didn't ask for. It just gives us another reason to go back to the grocery store.
So what is your approach then? How do you work something? Tell us.
Just the same script that we have in the BFS. I mean, really, I just make it very natural. where it's just like, hey, I just want to come introduce myself. I was pumping gas, it took forever, and I literally, I saw you right now. You just have a very professional look to you. Mind me asking, what is it that you do? So I always compliment them depending on what it is. Obviously, there has to be something you could compliment, right? Whether it's energy, whether it's like, you know, I could tell like they just have a great personality. I go, hey, look, I could tell you have a great personality even from over here. I'm in a bad mood because I have to pump gas, so like your energy like fed off to me, and you know, normally you'll get like a good giggle out of it, and then they'll start talking to you.
Oh, well, it's gonna be
Oh,
the
that
same question.
Cool.
So, do you usually, provide like a number? Do you get their number first? I mean,
I always get their number.
Do you get their number? How do you go about asking? If it's like you're a gentleman, if you're asking to a gal, and if it's from a guy to a guy.
Yeah, one thing I've always learned is like I just don't stick things in my head because I used to always think about it at the beginning. I was like, man, but if they're a lady, then they're gonna think I'm
Right.
hitting on them,
Right.
and blah blah blah. And then Jay's like, stop sticking crap in your head. He's like, you have so much crap in your head already that you don't need any extra. That's what he would tell me. So I said we just speak very differently to one another, right? But what I mean by that is like I just don't make things a big deal in my head, so that like they just disappear. So Jay always talks about like him having tattoos. He's always his biggest fear because he's sleeved up, so they come out all the way to here. You can see him on appointments. So he said all he could think about on his appointment was the fact that he had tattoos. He's like, oh my god, they're looking at my tattoos, blah 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 blah. And he said the moment Dan was like, dude, stop freaking worrying about your damn tattoos. He's like, you can't take them off. He's like, so just freaking don't worry about it. Was the first time he finally like just stopped thinking about it, and therefore it just wasn't even a thought in his head. You could always leverage someone. Like, are you married? No. Are you dating someone? Oh, make someone up.
Okay.
That's what I tell the ladies on my team. I tell them if you're gonna go up to a guy, just make someone up. Just be like my fiance and I. We're literally like, my partner and I. Never know what a partner is, right? So you go, hey, my partner and I were actually at the store right now and we saw you and I just want to come talk to you. So you just make somebody up.
So the
It's okay if your partner is Jesus, like my partner
That's
and I, right?
very true.
Okay. So the biggest thing that I take away from that is compliment, and then just go for it.
Yeah, compliment, then you just get their number. You get their number because you want to be the point of contact. You want to have the control. Otherwise, waiting on people to call you, it's not gonna happen. Like if someone just took my number down, or if I just took someone's number down before, I would never call them.
If they
You
ask
just
you,
let them know
if they
my
ask you,
sister's gonna call you. You just let them know my sister's gonna call
Yup.
you. Which is gonna go.
Anybody in the office, whoever's there, that doesn't suck.
if they ask you for a card, I've had that several times.
Yeah, I always just do the good old pat down. I just go, dude, I just came to pump gas. I don't have any card on me. I freaking hate pumping gas, by the way. Here, what's your contact info? And I'll have someone from my staff reach out to you, and they'll grab the time for us to sit down.
Okay.
Yeah. I just do the pat down every single time because I go business cards, man. That's freaking old school. I go, to be honest with you. Oh, you got an Instagram? Because I don't have. Like I have business cards at the office because my clients when I walk in. So I'll just say whatever. I always tell people, I go, man, business cards? I'm like, when's the last time you saw a business card? I'm like, yeah, that's true. Okay, I don't care what's your number. I'll just switch it.
What's your reason for that? Don't they ask you why do you want my number?
Yeah, by that point I've already established it. Like, cause I'll just find out if they're open.
Oh, credibility and.
Yeah, exactly. I go through the whole script, just finding out like, hey, so, what is it that you do? Do you like it? Do you love it? You see yourself doing it forever? Do you keep your options open? If you do, okay, awesome. Here, let me grab your contact info.
Okay.
So, any other questions? No? Oh, yeah.
If you had to go back and do it all over again, how would you do
Oh,
it differently?
shoot, man. That's a long list of things I would do over. No, to be honest, I would never go back and do it over. I'm grateful for the way I started. Because of the fact that I had to really earn my stripes with Jay. I didn't have it easy. I never worked directly with him. I had to earn my mentorship and my time with him. It was a struggle and it was very, very uncomfortable and it was very difficult at times. And there was times where like I said, I wasn't sure it was something I wanted to do the whole way. But I wouldn't go back and change anything just because of the fact that I think it being hard for me made me realize that I was like, man, this is as bad as it's ever gonna be. So if I could just figure out how to make it better, like it can get worse. Like you can't fall off the floor. So like it can't get worse than this. And it made me, like I said, it made me earn my mentorship with him, because if him and I were good friends for that last year that we'd known each other since I became a client with him, that I don't think that if I would have had that kind of a start, if I would have started working directly with him, I would have respected him. I would have respected his time and valued it as much as I do, just because I would have seen him more as a friend than an actual mentor, but he made me earn that. So when I got to that point where he was actually coaching me and actually mentoring me and spending time with me, and then we were going to the gym together, we were going out to eat together, and we were doing all these things, I learned to value that so much. Like it makes me, like, I can't even figure out how it works in people's head. Like in our office, like Jay doesn't pay for a thing if he's around me. Like there's no freaking way he's paying for a freaking meal if he's around me. And in our office, like I can't figure out how there's people that have been with him 7 years and they don't pay for his stuff. Like never even offered from what I've seen. And I'm like, if the struggle is that real, go get a job so you can pay for his meal. Like, you can't pay for a freaking meal. What's wrong with you? Like, I'll literally go out of my way to pay for his meal, because like that's my coach, that's my leadership. It's, you know, it's not like anywhere in print, but it's like it's time to be able to spend with your coach. So I think that's the reason why I would never change anything, because it made me value everything that I have now. Because there's 150 people in our office, and Jay's only working with 3-4 people. But throughout all of that, I'm always one of those people, no matter what. I'm the person that's out with him, you know, most days of the week. I'm the person that's hanging out with him in his office. I'm the person that's spending time with him, because I've learned to like really earn that stuff and value that stuff. And I think that's one of the most important parts of the whole business. That's why little things like that, like he doesn't, like yesterday was his birthday, no one was gonna pay for his dinner. I was like, you guys are tripping. And I literally waited till he got in line to see if someone would do it, and I was like, I knew it. And then he's like, what? And I was like, I got this. And I just went over there and paid for it, because I already knew. I was like, yep. I was like, just makes me, you know, like realize like nobody else wants it as bad as I do. Just because like
Well, you just started doing that once you started making money, right?
No, I did it on a credit card at first, which I finally got paid off like 9 months in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jay eats a lot, by the way. He's a tall dude, dude. I don't know where it goes, but it goes somewhere. Yeah, it drank all the way down. Yeah, so literally, like, no, I when I started that, I was probably like only maybe like 3 months in. When I came full time,
Yeah.
I think because we went out with Dan, and Jay paid for Dan's meal, and
Not if he was around me.
probably
Like, nobody beats me to Charlotte.
See, like and it goes to show you, but there's no accident why Christopher's at where he's at, you know. But that's why, like, things like that, to me, I see all those things as like how I get ahead of other people, and I see it as like how I've gotten to where I'm at. And I don't think I'm anywhere. Like for us, this is like just the freaking beginning. Like I feel like this is day one for us, because we're more in the hunt now than ever before, and I want to win more now than I ever have before, because like I feel like there's so much more at stake now. Now we've like made a little bit of a name for ourselves, where I'm like, if I'm gonna become relevant, I want to stay relevant.
Right.
I don't ever want to be.
You went from 5 to 22 licensed agents. How many do you have in the base now?
We're at 33.
33.
That's after our exchange leg. Our exchange leg was 17 licensed agents. So 17 licensed agents, 1 marketing director. Both of them were trainers. Between the 2 of them, because we gave up 2 legs.
So did I.
So between the 2 of them, it was 142,000 points rolling 12. So that was like our biggest thing. We wanted to give up a strong exchange league because, I mean, like I said, Jay had never done it. So we were like, if we're gonna do this right, I remember with a meeting we had, we were like, if we're gonna do this, let's just do it right. There's only one time you're gonna be our first SMD. Let's not screw this up and set the bar so low that we're like screwed later.
Right.
So that's why we ended up doing that, which was the 2 exchange legs. You know, I never even thought of it as like a bad thing, because like I hear that conversation where people like are like, oh, but I have to give up an exchange, like, and I go, there's no one in your base that Jay would want you to exchange. Don't worry about it. Like, don't worry about it. Like, we made sure it was strong, cause if I'm gonna go exchange someone in exchange for me, like, dude, it's gotta be someone that's gonna make me look good, not bad. It's gotta be someone that could go produce, that could go get the job done, that could go like, you know, take care of it. Like, I don't want it to be someone that I have to go back and be like, my bad. You know, like, we just had Matt Walsh at our Elite Circle. His original exchange like quit, he rebuilt another exchange like and then exchanged that out. And he rebuilt that one to like 200,000 points in production, like 4 MDs in the lake, and then literally exchanged that back out. I was like, dude, that's when you learn that stuff, like the higher laws of it all. The more you give, the more you get. It's just like anything, right? At church, like Jay and I compete on like who's gonna tithe more. Literally, 1 month I almost caught up to him, and he bumped his up to 15%. So I was like, dude, there's no way. Your income and my income, and you at 15%. There's no way I'm gonna beat you.
There's a way.
There is a way. It'll just have to come.
Louis is a senior pastor, trust me, he'll teach you ways.
There you go. So.
Notice too, like, Sergio Martin blew past 100,000 a year in earnings. They're on their way to 250. When are you guys going to close down your $250,000?
August.
August. So if they're going to hit it that soon, you know what that means. They're already outpacing 20 grand a month. They're already outpacing what it takes to get to 250. That's the only way that you sort of get there. Since it's a rolling 12 months and do it in that short a period of time, like you've got to be making 20, 25, 30 a month, right? What happens to a lot of people, especially if they're young and they're making that kind of money, like your ego gets in the way, your pride gets in the way, and right, it's like I got this figured out. I don't really, I'll when I need some help, I'll let you know type of thing. Notice with Sergio his humility and his respectful reverence for Jay. Like he texted Jay to get Jay's permission to speak here this morning. I asked him. We had gone out to lunch. I said, hey, I want you to like, and even though he wanted to, like, he talked to Jake. It's like, can I do this? Can I do this? So the reason that I would bet, like, if I would bet heavily, or if Sergio was a company, I'd invest a lot of my money in stock in his company, is because even though he's had a lot of success, I think the future looks brighter for him than the past. Even though the past is something you would have made a lot of money on, because what that mindset, like, is you gotta, like, here's the reality of it. He won't tell you this, but I will. Like, if you look at Jay's hierarchy, right? He's Jay's best guy, and it's not even close. Like, I don't know who second place would be, because first is so much ahead of second place. And so a lot of us have the perspective, like, I'm Jay's best guy. Jay should, like, he should be investing a lot of time in me. He should be hooking me up. He should be taking it, because I'm all he's got. He's got me, and then who knows what after that. You follow me?
Right.
Like, I'm sort of it. And they spend a lot of time together, so there's a real relationship and a real friendship between both of that, between Sergio and Mary Beth, and between Jay and his wife Ronnie. There's like a real friendship there, a real strong relationship. But Sergio doesn't let that get in the way of the accountability, of the coaching relationship, of the mentor relationship. And that's what keeps him sort of, like, as close as they are as friends, as boys, like Sergio knows at any point, Jay might come and go, hey, where's your numbers at? Where's this? What's going on here? And Sergio isn't going to let his relationship, like, hey, dog, we'll talk about that on Monday. It's like, he's got an expectation, like, it's okay for me to be held accountable. It's okay for me to put in check. And that's what keeps a young guy that's hungry, growing, and continuing to grow. You look at like, Tom Brady, for example, like, it's sort of the conversation's sort of over. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. Yet, he still has that sort of respect and reverence for his coach, right? And he still allows his coach, Belichick, to sort of coach him and check him when necessary in front of all the other guys. There's so much to be said for that, and in our culture today, when everybody's triggered so easily and offended and needs a safe space, and you can't talk to me that way, and I'm my own man, it's really easy to think you're your own man when you're making $180,000, $200,000 a year, and you're just getting started. You're on your way to 250. Like, dude, I don't need this guy giving me a hard time. I got this. I got it figured out. And yet, it's that mindset of his that, if I don't point it out, many of you would missed, you remember he said it, but it wouldn't seem like that big of a deal to you, that it's gonna take him from 250 to 5 and 5 to 750 like that. And then as those things happen, there's no way he's speaking to a group this size, like his time's just too valuable to do that. So I want you to pay attention to some of the little things that are being said but sort of unsaid.
Yeah, well, and with that being said, I mean, I have a respect to him because you gotta realize this, like, your freaking coach is like here for a reason. Like, they could easily just say good luck, figure it out. That's how the rest of the industry works. You know, all my friends that work for like Thrivent Financial and all these other firms, Wells Fargo Advisors, like, that's how it is. Like, you just go figure it out. Like, you either make it or you don't. They don't care because you're an employee. So like, you're either gonna become a really good employee or you're not gonna make it. Doesn't really matter. They sign them up for a licensing process. They gotta go get their securities license, like a couple licenses and their life license, and they give them 6 months to do it. But what if you don't make it? You know, bye, on to the next one. Someone will make it. And here we have a system where like literally someone's coaching you, investing their time, their energy. You know, they're going home and talking to their spouse about you, like, man, I just want so and so to freaking win so bad. And it's like, I don't take that for granted. And I'll tell you one of the biggest reasons. I had another shot at WFG before this. I didn't know it was WFG. Marriott went to a meeting in Brea in 2013. And I just was starting my first business, which was a repair shop. And she went to this meeting. We were like, you know, in college. Like, she was in college. I dropped out, so I'm not gonna act like I was in college, right? I was like in college for my parents, right? Like, just taking like the business classes I wanted. And literally, like, she comes home and she's like, oh my god, like, I just had this freaking interview. It went really good. This and that. There's a licensing process, so like that's all I would have to do. And I went back with her, and I liked it, but I didn't understand it because the people that were sitting with us, like, they just didn't explain it that well. I was like, look, man, I got a lot going on. I don't think this is the right thing for us, and so we literally like didn't do it. When Mira came to the office 2 months after I started, she walked in and she goes, WFG. She's like, oh my god. She's like, dude, this is the same freaking thing from what I went to and we decided not to do it. And I was like, are you serious? She's like, yeah. I was like, well, don't freaking tell anybody. So I literally just told Jay that 3 months ago. Like 3 months ago, we were talking somewhere, and I told him that, and he was just like, "What the heck?" He's like, "You never told me that." I was like, "Yeah, because I didn't want to look stupid." Like,
Whose
our
office was
this
it,
thing.
do you know?
I think it was Howard Hughes. Yeah. Howard Hughes. So, yes.
I don't understand what you mean by exchange.
I don't know.
We can cover it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can cover it after. But any other questions or anything else? Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys, and you know,
You too. Thank you.
appreciate